Hello, today we have a guest that is half of my age. Wonderful to have such a young talent in my podcast and in my YouTube. Such a wonderful to see the young people doing such an inspirational and such a good job when everybody is busy scrolling the reels. There are few who are busy reading, exploring, and going deeper into the fictional world, going deep into the history. So today we have a wonderful guest, Vyom Mahakumar, and he is a writer and a filmmaker. He's a student of filmmaking, but he is a writer who has just debuted his science fictional novel, Eternal Gambit. So welcome, Vyom.
Hi, and thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here.
So it's wonderful. Of your age, people, you are an inspiration for me because I am also struggling for completing my book for I think I'm forgetting how many years, but you have done it already. I think you are 28, right?
Yeah.
Such a young age.
So
So I still be motivated.
definitely, I think writing a book is a journey, which is a very personal journey, and everyone. I don't think there's a time limit to when you can write a book, or if a book requires a certain length of time and you should be done with it. No, I think writing a book is a very, very intimate personal journey with yourself and your subject. So this book also took me almost like a decade to complete. So I would wish everyone to be calm and just be persistent with their writings, and I'm sure that a lot of people can get it done.
Sure. After hearing you out, I think many people will be motivated to write, to start, or maybe like me to finish my writing.
Yes.
So, what inspired you? What was your initial passion to start writing as a career?
So I would say that it's not one particular thing that drove me into writing. Um, since I was a child, my grandparents and all of the elders in the family, they used to recite these epics like Mahabharata, Rama, and all of those. So from a very young age, those sort of stories were always floating around in the house.
Mhm.
And my grandfather especially had a passion for world literature.
Okay.
He would bring all sorts of like different books and stories and short stories from the library and read them out to us, or we would sneak a peek at the stories while he was not reading them. So there's a culture of reading in my family, which really I took to it.
Mhm.
Growing up, I'm sure what happened was that slowly I was exposed to other things. As a kid, I stopped reading. I was watching a lot of cartoons and playing a lot of sports, and somewhere those things also helped a lot, because these different mediums develop your sensibilities. Much later in life, I would say around the ninth grade or something, my dad brought a bunch of CDs, movie CDs home.
Mhm.
One of them was this movie called Troy.
Okay.
It was on
The
the
famous
Trojan
Troy.
War. Yes,
Trojan
the
War.
famous
Yeah.
Troy, the Brad Pitt movie, and this big. My dad was a big Brad Pitt fan, and
Okay.
uh, we watched it, and I was awestruck. I was completely blown away by the sheer scope of the story.
Mhm.
It's happening in this walled city, and two massive armies are fighting over like one thing, and that really, as a child, drew me into like stories, and that's how I got back into it. Uh, with that, I was exposed to like Homeric epics, Odyssey and Iliad.
Mhm.
That opened my mind to different sorts of
All the Greek
you know
literature.
Greek literature, and eventually Norse mythology of Odin, Thor, all of that. So I really got hooked to that.
Okay.
And then I remember, I think around 12th or something, like overall, I started watching more movies after that point.
Mhm.
But in 11th, 12th, I think, or I think first year of college, I discovered this. randomly I discovered this show called Fate Zero,
Mm-hmm.
and it really shaped how I look at stories, because till then you have these white hero characters versus these black villain characters, but
Okay.
this story suddenly introduced me to a gray anti-hero, a kind of
Okay.
hero who is, his objective is to save the world, but he's
Mm.
doing that by killing people. And that
Oh.
for me was very intriguing, because his overall goal was world peace.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you know how you have all these characters like Arjun, for example, he's like fighting to protect something, or to, undo the wrong that has been done.
Yeah.
This guy is, his end goal might be a good one, but he's achieving it through the wrong means. And
Okay.
such a character really intrigued me.
Mm-hmm.
And I started reading more on psychology and philosophy through that.
Okay.
So
Great.
it's, so if you ask me if there is one instance which got me into writing, I don't think I can name it, but it's like a gradual stepping process through
Yeah.
which I got into it. And I'll just credit my family for really being open to all these new ideas which were coming, and they were exposing me to all of them. So that's
Your
how I got
father
into it.
is an army officer and your mother is an orthodontist, right?
Yeah.
And they allowed you to pursue such a different career, such wonderful thing.
So my mother is also an artist. She's a Bharatnatyam dancer and painter. So her artistic insights have always helped me, and she has a very good understanding of arts. Like she's also a singer. So uh, all of those influences really shaped the way I look at things.
So that's how your interest into reading, writing, and different thing came into being. But what actually was the turning point when you decided, okay, I'm writing a book and I'm writing a fictional book and I'm writing a novel? All this process, when does that happen? What shaped it? Like formal education, what did you take and how you came from that education to this?
I picked architecture. I was slated to go into medicine because my mom's a doctor. I did not pursue that. I wanted to pursue something which was more on the creative side. I went on to architecture.
Mm-hmm.
I then am currently just finishing up with filmmaking. So I'm a film editor currently, and I think that is my calling. Like
Mm-hmm.
films is my calling, because I think I'm a storyteller
Okay.
by heart, and this is the right place for me. All of my formal education did like help me shape my sensibilities. Um, but this is the one thing that I landed up doing, which is filmmaking. So I did get into architecture,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it just was, I wasn't as interested in it as I thought I would be. And going further, I think the environment didn't help me at all, combined with my lack of motivation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Writing is the one thing that in those years I really developed. I wouldn't say it's a form of escapism for me, but it's a form of catharsis. It allows me to express myself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it allowed me to express my creative instincts.
Mm-hmm.
And as I said, I was always interested in stories.
Mm-hmm.
So I could free myself from my daily life
Mm-hmm.
and just create something of my own using
Okay.
writing. And it became a very important part of my routine. Like
Okay.
that's something that gave me some semblance of peace.
Mm-hmm. Okay. How old were you then?
I mean 17 when I started writing. It There's this idea which was already floating in my head. I just, you know how all of your goals, big goals in life are.
Mm-hmm.
There's a period of time when you deny them,
Mm.
when you're just sort of dreaming about them. Okay, someday I'll do X,
I'll
Y,
do
Z,
that. Yeah.
and then one day you think, you know what? Um, let me just start. Let me just
Mm.
start and see where that goes.
Mm.
ड्रीम है ना, ड्रीम तो अपनी जगह पे है.
Yeah.
लाइक वो तो एक है, एक गोल जहाँ पे पहुंचना है.
Mm-hmm.
and you feel safe because it's so far away that you can allow yourself to make a few mistakes.
Yes.
And that's how I got into writing. Like that's how I there was a story floating in my head, and it was like a it was maybe like a two-parter story. um
Okay.
I had all the visuals in my head. I had the characters coming to me. Very
Mm-hmm.
rudimentary. Very there was no structure to it,
Mm-hmm.
but there was this a lot of daydreaming behind it.
Okay. Okay.
And then one day I just picked it up and I said to myself, this is the writing is the one way I can get to that.
Mm-hmm.
If I can in words describe my thoughts or the story. Now I'm not even talking about storytelling has its own craft.
Yes.
Okay, writing has its own sort of craft and grammar and everything. But when
Yes.
I began, it was just an outpour of ideas. It was just an outpour of expression. There
Mm-hmm.
was no structure to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I understood that. But and what happens is a lot of writers in the
Mm.
beginning, this is what scares them. They want it to be perfect. They want it to be something which is exactly as they're thinking.
Yes.
It never is. It's probably at best 80 to 90% of what they're thinking that
Mm-hmm.
they can pen down. But there's this beauty in it being so raw, that is the base form without any structure. It's just the base. You know how poetry is. Without poetry doesn't need a structure. It needs a rhythm to
Yes.
it. So
Sure.
such ideas, when I first penned it down, they had a rhythm to it. I liked what I was reading. I just did not like how I had written it. And then I would say that the next few years, at least 3 years to 4 years, I just honed on how I should write, like the craft of writing. So
Okay.
that's how the journey began, and then it eventually evolved into branching structures and more. So
So how long exactly it took you to complete your novel?
oh, it's took my novel to complete. Wow, that's because I'm writing a very very long series. I always wanted to write an epic. I grew up on Mahabharata and Ramayana, and then fell
Mm.
in love with the Iliad and Odyssey. So if I was ever to write something, it was going to be an epic.
Okay.
And early on, I understood that I was writing an epic.
Okay.
Early on, I understood that if this is an epic, the first part will be a sort of tragedy.
Okay.
And tragedy has its own form, it has its own
Mm.
structure to it. So I read up on it. I actually got a degree in literature so
Okay.
that I can write better. Um,
How much
so
it helped?
it helped a lot because literally the first thing that I studied was epics. So
Okay.
early on, it really helped me, and that degree really opened my eyes to um, what English literature has been.
Okay.
So I always wanted to write an epic, and it took me around almost 10 years to write it.
From the 17 to 27, if you're counting.
Yeah, 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 something like that. Yes.
From the very, very seed, you have started counting the years. Actually, you penned down the first word and completed the novel and went to the editing.
I still remember it being 14th Feb 22 is when I finished the book.
You finished the book. Okay. How much pandemic helped you?
Pandemic, not so much because college was also going on. With me, college has been a constant thing on the background. So writing hasn't been like a continuous process,
So you were studying and
studying and writing at the same time. And I think that helped.
yeah, okay.
That helped because I could take my mind off writing for some time. But then when I got to writing, I was very excited to do it. It wasn't a burden on me that I had to finish it. I had to finish it. It did become like that in the later stages, like around I would say 2020 or 21, where I really had to finish it. I think there was pressure on me by myself and everyone involved in the project that I had to finish it. So yeah.
Okay. So Eternal Gambit is the
Yes.
name, right? And tell us something about it. It's a fictional, science
Yes.
fictional.
So the Eternals Gambit is about a 17-year-old teenager, Lucas Bailey, and one day he finds that uh, his father was murdered. Right. So Luke has dissociative identity disorder, which is split personality, and he discovers that his father was murdered when he was a child, and one of his personalities is trying to stop him from finding his father's killer. And that one
Hmm.
personality is this ancient king who is trying to uh, f-
Okay.
fix the mistakes of his past through Luke. And in doing so, he's
Hmm.
stopping Luke
Hmm.
from finding his father's killer. And this is a murder
Okay.
mystery fantasy novel which deals with arcane secrets and a war eons in the making, which is about to begin.
Okay. And it aims to the young reader or everyone.
So the target audience, I would say, is between 12 to 27, 28, the young adult category. But I would say that it has a universality to it because of the themes involved. The
Hmm.
themes involved are choices that we make and second chances. So these are the things which I think appeal to a lot of people who are much older, who have gone through life, who may regret the choices they've made and might think about, or they might be in a position where they have a chance to change their life. So I think it has a universality, but the target audience would be around the 12 to 27, 28 age range.
And how was the response?
The response has been great. One of the best stories that I've heard is parents complaining to me actually that the board
Okay.
exam is going on and we can't keep our kids away from the book. Like they're only allowed to read 10 pages a day, and that made me really happy.
So summer holidays will be a perfect for them.
Yes, that is the goal. I understand it's a long book, but people who have started it, they have not put it down, and the response has been amazing.
And when are you writing the second one?
I'm actually writing the second one. I'm currently in the process.
Started already.
Yes, yes. As I told you, I have been planning this at least seven-parter series for
Mm-hmm.
a long time. I think, second or third year of writing this, I had found that this was not going to be a trilogy.
Okay.
This was something which had grown to be far bigger.
Okay. So it is seven series number.
Yeah. So I have the basic plot for the entire book, like series.
Okay.
I just have to detail it all out now. So I've already begun writing
And when are we going to see any movie onto that?
movie. One of the reasons I actually joined film school was because I wanted to make this story into something which could be put on a bigger screen.
So I'm talking to a present writer and future filmmaker.
Yes. The goal has always been that.
I should get my autograph signed right now.
Certainly.
And it has psychology, it has epic, it has everything. There are so many uh, you know uh, facts that you have put, so many kind of things that you have put into this is a complete a blockbuster material, because I think it interests everyone who has the history in the blood. They will be liking psychology, thriller, everything. You have put all the masalas into it, right?
So for me, how I would put it is it's a murder mystery that goes beyond just solving a murder. It goes to the lens of teenagers. I think teenagers are it was catered to a teenage audience because at that age you have so many things that you still have to figure out in life about yourself, about your place in the world. And I would say that this book is more of a coming of age as well. as a murder mystery, because my
Hmm.
character Luke has a very fixed ideology because of the trauma of his past. And
Okay.
and a lot of times we are, you know, stuck in that one idea of the world that we have, and then someone just comes one day and completely changes that, it opens up your mind. So that is also something that happened to my character, that
Okay.
opening up of perspective.
And how much this writing journey is opening up you and helping you to grow as a different kind of human being? What is the process going on?
I think the growth of the entire novel, uh, because I still have the first draft, and the growth of the novel is directly proportional to like how I have grown as a person throughout the years.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
The first one was the very beginning of it was a very basic, like, it wasn't even, I don't think it was even a murder mystery. It was like a character who's suffering gains some power and tries to get out of that situation, and there's a love story also going on at the background.
And what is your love story?
Oh no. My love story is with my stories itself. For now.
So your character is also not having a love story, and you are also not having any love story.
Oh, my character has a love story. I do like romantic subplots a lot, so that was always the plan.
And in your real life,
No, my real life, I'm too busy making this into reality for now.
you don't have to lie here, huh?
No, no, I'm not. It's just how it is.
Okay. Someday it will be. So you have all the channels open. So if you anybody who is listening to this can now understand that Vyom is single and ready to mingle, right?
Oh God, sure.
So after that, you might get someone in your life also.
Hmm.
But right now, you're busy writing these things. You don't face writer's block or perfectionist challenges,
I constantly face those.
and how you come out of it.
Writer's block is a very common and real thing that a lot of people don't actually understand.
Hmm.
They might think that like a small problem that they might face is writer's block. I think writer's block is something which completely prevents you or paralyzes you from decision making, specifically decision making in your creative work,
Okay.
because your perfectionistic tendencies creep up and they prevent you from progressing in your work. I think that is the best form of, like, best explanation to writer's block I can give.
Hmm.
My solution to writer's block has been either I'll go for a walk. Honestly, that helps a lot.
Okay.
Just going for a walk or a drive. But if that doesn't work out, I will stop writing or doing anything creative.
Yeah.
Completely stop it for at least some time, because it allows me to relax and refresh. Then I will force myself to watch something which I would not ordinarily watch or read or listen to music.
Why force yourself?
All have our comfort zone, like we all like the shows that we like, the movies that we like. So if a person does not like horror, facing a writer's block, I would suggest give it a go, for the simple fact that it will change your perspective and you'll gain something new out of that. What I do is I just randomly would listen to something like a Nordic ballads, which is completely not what I listen to. Or I would watch a Japanese animation show, or I would watch a Korean movie, which is not something I or anyone usually does. But by doing so, you are exposed to new ideas, and somewhere down the line, you get inspired by them eventually.
That's unique.
I don't particularly think inspiration is important to finish a project, but it is very important to start one.
Yeah. Great. But what keeps it going?
Persistence, just discipline and persistence. I don't think motivation is good enough to finish a project. I have waited for motivation for a long time, Motivation does not help you.
What discipline? Sorry, discipline means to you what?
Discipline can come in many forms. It's not about writing every day. I don't write every day. I do jot down points about my plot and I constantly think about my stories, but I don't write every day. Discipline is just the fact that you have to get something done. You have to get beyond your perfectionism and be like, okay, आज तो मुझे ये करना ही है. Even even if whatever I have written or any creative work is not as good as you think it is, but what writing allows you to do is it allows you to rewrite.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's very powerful and it's something that people underestimate. They think that they have to get it right on the first go. पहली बार में perfect होना ज़रूरी नहीं है, but the sheer fact that you have written it completely, whatever your goal is, I think that psychologically helps you to push forward, and I think that clears up writer's block. थोड़ा सा discipline and थोड़ा you have to push yourself to finish a project.
पर कहते हैं ना कि वो सपने ही क्या जो आपको आपकी नींद ना उड़ा दें। सो आपकी इस पूरे प्रोजेक्ट ने आपकी नींद कितनी बार उड़ाई?
बहुत बार बहुत बार
You think all the time in your head, and sometimes you find that you're overthinking or getting overwhelmed with the thinking process.
it has happened multiple times, and I think with me especially that this is the project of my life. I feel, I consider this one of the purposes of my life, if it may, that I
Okay.
have to write this. So I don't get
Mm-hmm.
demotivated ever with this project, but there are other projects which I do, and I think what really gets me through is that, see, writing is hard, and अगर ये आसान होता तो सब कर लेते.
Yeah, obviously.
मुझे अच्छा लगता है to push myself in such a way. um, it might make me sleepless, but at the end of the day I am gaining something which I would be happy and proud of.
Okay.
So I have had a lot of trouble writing this project. um, I have been stuck multiple times. One of the drafts I actually showed my mother, and I was really trying to figure out how I can reduce one character's you know influence and increase the other character's role.
Mm.
My mother came up with the simplest solution, and you have to understand that I was halfway done with the draft, and my book is 500 pages, so I was down 250 pages around. My mother just simply tells me, huh, why don't you cut that character out?
Okay.
I had to rewrite the entire draft,
Okay. All 250 pages.
250 pages, because that character was one of the main characters, and I think that is the best decision I have taken. But I had to write the entire draft again.
Again, but you believed her, you trusted her so much.
So certain solutions don't have to be complicated. Like, it was such a simple one, and it fixed so much.
It helped you.
Yeah, definitely. I think I didn't have the courage to say it or think it till she did.
Yeah.
I'm very much open to criticism. That's one quality that I think all creatives should have. But it's important who you take it from.
You should know who my mentor is, who is trustworthy. Not everybody's advice is to be coming down the line.
It's a simple funda. Why would you take criticism from someone whose advice you do not take?
Okay.
So that's what I follow.
Great. So what are the future plan other than the book, other than the sequels of this book?
I do have other writing projects and obviously films that are in the works currently.
So you have this writing project that is 7 books, and you have other writing projects, and you have filmmaking projects. Aren't you motivating the kids of the time to be, come on? Don't just watch the reels, do something.
I think everyone is has the potential to be creative and express themselves.
And who inspired you? Who inspired you and who inspires you this man?
That's a difficult question to answer because I have my own sort of people or giants in the world of filmmaking, literature, all of that that really get me going. And you have these people in your mind, right? That I don't understand how this person did so much, and how do I replicate that,
Hmm.
right? So I do have, for me, one of the greatest minds has been J.R.R. Tolkien, the writer of Lord of the Rings.
Mhm. Okay.
I think as a child, since I was a child, I have looked up to that man a lot. There's another one which is T.H. White. He's written my favorite book called The Once and Future King. There are many more. My grandfather actually inspired me a lot. He has read so much, and he had these anecdotes, little anecdotes from all over all over the world literature that he would just say, and he would always make it funny.
Mhm.
So I think the one way he engaged all of us kids, me, my cousins, everyone, my even my like my mom and her siblings, is that every story that he said, it had to have a moral lesson and it had to be funny at the same time. So I think to do that, it is very difficult to do that. But he did it so flawlessly that I still look up to that and think that was the one of the most amazing things ever.
So, in the era of Chat GPT, how much the original writing means and what means?
Chat GPT, AI, great. I actually like AI.
Do you feel it to be a competition?
No, I think AI is great. I particularly like AI because it eliminates a lot of menial tasks, very honestly.
Okay. So, you use such things?
Not that much, but for me, ChatGPT is a great research tool.
Okay.
I It filters out a lot of data and feeds it to me in a concise manner. Which, for example, if I'm writing a murder scene, okay, and I need
Mm-hmm.
to know which sort of weapon or how the wound will it, how will the blood come out? Will be spurt out or it will be like dripping or something like that. I can just ask it and it'll give me a easier answer to understand. So I don't think AI is something which will replace writers, because while AI has a lot of data that it can process and give you an answer, it is not an original answer. It's a processed answer.
But for some, don't you think, Vyom, it's uh, you know something that distracts you
In what way?
when you start using it? You feel you like get addicted to that. You start using it more and more. So your original thinking, your own thought process get hurdled.
I don't particularly think so, because I'll tell you, literature is, and when I say literature, it includes music, art, everything, films, books, everything. It has a way of stacking. And what I mean by stacking is that everything that has come before has an influence on what will come later. If you look at all the art movements across history, right? Each art movement has been in response to the previous art movement. So it is basically trying to do the opposite of what the other art movement did. So that's how, for me, literature is stacking, and AI cannot be that distracting, because no matter what happens, we will, as times change, perspectives will change, society will change, and to reflect society, writers will come up with new things. I think that's the fact that the world is so dynamic is why I don't think creatives will ever go out of business because of AI.
Yeah, wonderful. But as you said, things are changing, so is the language. So modern kids, you are aiming for the 12 to 27, and the language of the modern times, the lingo, what they call it, Gen Z language. How do you reach out to that language? You are not a Gen Z kid, I believe.
Yeah, no.
But how do you make it so reachable to that Gen Z kids?
um what helped me was that I have two timelines going on in my book. One which is of the ancient past, and one which is of the contemporary time. So my character is a Gen Z kid, if you
Hmm.
look at it.
Okay.
So as you said, lingos, I had to learn some. I had to learn some from my some of my friends who were like Gen Z. um, I had a friend who was literally my Gen Z translator. She would tell me what certain things meant.
Give us some interesting words that you used and you learned in the process.
Words that I used, I think, I don't know if I used it, but something called yeet, YEET. It's
Okay.
a something which none of the people in my generation got it when it came out. I had to ask what it meant.
What does that mean?
It basically means to throw something, to chuck something out in frustration,
Okay.
something like that.
Okay.
That, and especially while you're texting people, you have all these short forms, which took me a long time. TTYL, okay, talk to you later, something like that. So I think,
Do you use these in your novel? This kind of thing?
I don't think I used it, because for me, I wrote it in a more formal manner.
Okay.
Sure, in my dialogues have a lot of references. I think I am someone who uses a lot of references even in my daily, like, talk. I would use references from shows. I would use references from music. So that's how I think me and my friends communicate. But I think I kept it more formal when I was writing it. I did not use too much lingo. I don't particularly like too much lingo, to be very honest, because I grew up reading classics.
Yeah.
You know,
We all did.
classics don't particularly have lingo, but dialogues allow you to do that. So I think I did, to a certain extent, use them.
And people are liking it. So things are done. Whatever you needed.
People are liking my characters, which I'm very happy for.
And how much and which character reflects your personality or persona, your belief system.
I think all of them do. I think all of them do, to a certain extent, because I think they are extensions of me. To even the most evilest of characters, right, would in some way have, see, because I'll tell you what happens is that with me, my characters are a vehicle for my theme. The first thought behind the character is
Hmm.
an ideology behind it, because this person has to represent this set of ideology, and the other person has to and that's how I create contrast and go forward. So in terms of who I think I relate to the most, it would be my main character Luke. At the same time, it would also be my other main character Stella. So these two, I think, I really am very close to in terms of ideology.
Okay. Okay. And where do we see Vyom 5 years from now?
5 years from now, hopefully finishing book three.
Okay, book two is already okay. Wonderful.
5 years, I'm planning to finish book two in the next two. So in the next 2 years, I'm thinking book two should be done, and then later I'll start book three. And in terms of filmmaking, I hope I'm in a good place. I want to work as a film editor, so I hope I'm in some under the tutelage of some great editor. I think that's the goal for the next 5 years.
Don't you want to make a film on your novel?
I do. That is the ultimate goal in life.
And when is that happening?
I still need to learn a lot. I feel I still need to figure out, because filmmaking is different from writing, and it took me 10 years, and I can now say that I consider myself to be proficient in writing, but it took me 10 years.
Hmm.
And if I am to attempt uh, an adaptation of my novel, I think 10 years is a good time to really take that call. Although people would want me to do it earlier, but for me, it's still some time away.
I thought it would be in your 5 years goal.
No, no, no. As I said, I need to. I'm a perfectionist. I need to. I feel hone my skills better before I do that. Because if I'm doing it, I would want it to be perfect.
And where is the personal life going in next 5 years?
Oh God. I'm actually a very private person, so I don't particularly share all those details. Personal life, I would want to settle down. I think in the next 5 years, that is the goal. Beyond that, I don't know yet.
Okay. Settle down means marrying or career? Career is already settled.
Both, both. I would say both.
Okay, both. Okay. So my best wishes to you for that.
Thank you.
And it's wonderful to have you here, particularly Vyom. I have not seen a person of your age so focused, so clear about the thought pattern, and so diligently working in a very disciplined manner and a very focused. You know your ins and out and what you have to do, and it's very inspiring to know that you are doing all this since you were 17 and you maintained your growth, and you're still so down to earth and humble and nothing. After finishing your first book, I think the success has not gone to your head. You are focused to your second book and third book. I think this is a inspiration for me itself. It is wonderful to have you.
Thank you so much. My goal eventually is also to teach people, particularly younger writers. I would really, and I've actually started a platform. It's called Writers Anonymous, where people, young writers who need feedback, can come.
Why young? Am I not be considered young enough?
All writers. So when I say young writers, I consider writing age to be when you start writing.
Okay, so I'm a baby. I'm a baby.
Yes, yes,
So you would love to mentor me also.
sure.
I'm struggling to finish my book.
So then that's the perfect place for you to be, to get some feedback.
Okay. So lovely speaking to you, Vyo. Best of luck for your future.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. This has been wonderful.
Yeah. Okay. Bye.